eConsult is an online consultation tool, and over the last year, obviously it was not a normal year, especially for healthcare. And online consultations and online access to GP practices are sort of becoming part of a new normal. Um, they were used before. eConsult has been going for about 6 years, but over the last year, we've seen a huge uptake of this across GP practice and patients using it. So over the last year, we've done a lot of stuff to try and make eConsult better for both patients and practices. And we've done a lot to help practices cope with COVID as well. So we put in a lot of features that were there for that. I would just point out here that online consultations are not for everyone, but there are patients who can benefit from using eConsult. So it's good to sort of understand how it works, even if you kind of think that they're not quite right for you. And I mentioned this last week as well, but there is a reason why we do everything. eConsult is started and is still run by active NHS clinicians. So patient safety is obviously completely their kind of heart of everything they do. They're not tech people who have come in to try and change things in the NHS. They are NHS people who are using technology to try and improve something. So this is really, really brief overview of what eConsult is. So it's a history taker, and that's a key distinction to make. And it's not an appointment booker, which is quite often something that people do get confused with when they use it, because there are a lot of platforms available now, and a lot of them are appointment bookers. The reason why eConsult is a history taker as opposed to an appointment booker is because with a history taker, you input your symptoms. These get sent to symptoms, conditions, request, whatever you want to ask the GP practice. These are then sent to the practice, and then the practice staff make the decision on what is the most appropriate next step for each patient. In some cases, it will be an appointment, and that might be done over the phone or in person or over video now. But other times, it might actually just be some information. It might be a GP note or a sick letter, which doesn't actually require an appointment. So it's kind of letting the GP practice decide on the most appropriate care for everyone. eConsult is obviously available 24/7 in most cases for patients. So you can go online and submit your request for symptoms. And the big kind of difference between this and the phone is that phone lines are only open when the practice is. And quite often now there are quite long queues on the phone because there's only a certain number of people who can answer the phone at any one time. What I would say, though, is eConsults come through to the practice and they're kind of a request to the practice, or they're a list of symptoms in the same way that a receptionist would take the information from a patient over the phone. They're then put into sort of a long list where they're triaged appropriately. So using eConsult or the phone is not a queue jump to get an appointment. Everything is triaged in the same way at the end of the day. I just want to bring this up here, and I think this is why I wanted to make it clear that it's not an appointment booker. This was sent through from a colleague of mine who, this is her sister had gone to a GP practice and said, I need my login details for the online consultation platform at my practice. Can you send me the login details again? And the reception staff said, sure. Which one of these is it? So these are all online applications that are available at this one GP practice. And this is the case in a lot of GP practices. So over the last year or so, a lot of online platforms have become available. So I just want to highlight what eConsult's for, because there are some of these are actually used for different things, but even the people in the practice are sometimes not really sure on which ones are for which. And there are a couple of questions that came through about that. I'll go through these actually during the demo. So I'll just leave these within the slide deck so you can review them afterwards. And then the final thing, I just wanted to keep this in because I did see there are some questions about this, but we are putting together a lot more resources to help patients understand how to use eConsult and also to help teach other patients how to use it. You quite often find that the best teaching, especially with new products regarding technology and even healthcare, is actually teaching someone else how to do it. Obviously, that's not so appropriate at the moment unless it's within your household because of the coronavirus. But in the future, this has become more and more important. And we're working with people to build courses and guides that can be taught for local councils, for example. So We have a lot of resources available, and a lot of them are downloadable and online. So we've got an NHS patient webpage on our website. These are URLs in here, so I can send in the deck, you can access all the information afterwards. But that's got a GP finder where you can start an eConsult from. It's got a list of FAQs. It's got some how-to patient videos and guides, which we're looking to update very soon, actually. And then a list of downloadable education resources. So these have come out of sessions that I've had with PPG groups, and they're the resources that they've asked for. So they're things like newsletter information, they're PDF guides, they're things for WhatsApp groups. So there's lots of things, but if there's anything else you want, please let us know because we can put them together. And then the final thing is our Facebook page, where we put out a lot of information on there, and most of the resources were always put out through the Facebook page. So some people just find that an easier way to access the information. We're also putting together a patient forum, which is now live. This is meant to be patient-led. So what we want this to be is for patients to share with other patients tips, guides, useful information to do with online consultation that they've found useful. We won't be able to put together everything, and we'll put together what we hear is useful, but actually you might find something that's more useful first, and this isn't meant to be a place where you can share it with other patients. We'll be on there to take feedback and monitor and everything like that. And there's also the demo site, which is kind of what I'm going to show you later in a few seconds. So the demo site is not for submitting anything medical. It is there just to try out eConsult for the first time if you don't want it sent through to your GP practice. So that is also available for you.